Welcome back to this special live transmission at PTV World. As the Indian aggression has been befittingly responded to by Pakistan, DGISPR, Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif Chaudhry making a very detailed presser yesterday. He said there were 3 promises made with the nation, a befitting response to the Indian aggression at a time and a place and manner of its choosing, and the entire world will know that. And all those promises have been fulfilled by the Pakistan's armed forces. And also we have seen Defence Minister Khaja Asif, while talking to a private TV channel, has put forth the primary points in any future or potential negotiation with India, and those primary points are the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir dispute, terrorism and water. We've also seen regarding Kashmir, there has been a statement by US President Donald Trump. Let me quote that one as well. I will work with both you, referring to India and Pakistan, to see if after 1,000 years the solution can be arrived at concerning Kashmir, unquote. We've also seen the statement that had come from Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Pakistan. The strategic instability in South Asia is a result of the unresolved Jammu and Kashmir dispute, unquote. We have also known for a fact that this particular issue has been called as or termed as a source of instability in South Asia by the members of the United Nations Security Council in their recent meeting during that particular aggression of India against Pakistan. Also, we'll also be talking about as to the ceasefire which has been agreed between Pakistan and India has been welcomed by the regional countries, including China and Turkey as well. All these important developments are for discussion in this particular half of this particular transmission at PTV World. For that, we are honored to be joined in the studio by Dr. Waqas, Foreign Affairs expert. Dr. Kausar, thank you very much for your time, for being with us on this particular transmission. We really appreciate that. Also in the studio, we are honored to be joined by Mr. Umair Pervez Khan. He is General Secretary, Consortium for Asia Pacific Studies, and also serving as a lecturer at the Department of IR, National Defense University. Mr. Khan, thank you very much for your time, also for being with us on this particular special live transmission. Really appreciate that. Dr. Kausar, very quickly, what's your feeling as a citizen of this particular region, that very blatant and naked aggression against the UN Charter, against the international law, against all the established norms of the interstate relations? India came up with Pakistan. It went on abated. Pakistan has been exercising strategic restraint, but again, Pakistan had to respond. And when Pakistan responded, all those promises, as per that very presser by the DGISPR, all those promises made with the nation were fulfilled. How are you looking at the entire dynamics of it?
Thank you very much, first of all, for having me on your show. I guess the fundamental lesson what we see is that, the danger of such sort of politics, played by BJP, that has, put entire region into in a situation where there are more than 1.4 billion population lives and their prosperity and peace were at stake. The one lesson, particularly what we could draw is such politics is disastrous. It has a potential to not only the compromise the security of both countries but the entire region. Second, I guess Pakistan's, if you analyze the response to this aggression, and particularly on all fronts, I guess it came as a very mature and responsible country. If you see that militarily, the facts are there. International media, particularly analyses are coming out. For that matter, diplomatically and politically as well. All the leadership, if you see that, have been showing a lot of restraint, maturity and wisdom during this time to de-escalate and try not to, sort of risk the lives of the people, particularly the peace of the region. But in a way, I guess when the such politics of the BJP that they have been doing in the region, particularly of creating that war hysteria, creating an environment where their own population is the hostage of those narratives, particularly anti-Pakistan and anti-minorities, and then you have this sort of a blackout of information. You're trying to curb down the media and all that. Then in all this situation, despite of all that, the Pakistan's particular leadership has demonstrated a great sense of wisdom, and Pakistan was left with no option but to respond. I mean, it's an international law. It's the right to respond and protect your territory. And I guess this has given us the lesson that the politics of such politics of politics of exclusion, politics of divide, politics of war, you know, all these constituencies have certain shelf life. And I guess this was a great lesson of people living in this region, that how such politics could, you know, create an environment to risk the entire region. Number two, importantly, I guess this has also raised a question on a very important thing, that how the security of the entire region is integrated with each other. I mean, the countries particularly should be very much grateful to the President of the United States, particularly his intervention, and then the friendly countries and allies. I guess they have understood not only Pakistan's position, but also they have been continuously talking about de-escalation, because the escalation starts from the, you know, it was the BJP's Modi government who has started this escalation particularly. And I guess the Pakistan's response and maturity also convinced the international world that it was right of Pakistan to respond. And then, of course, they played a major role in keeping that thing that this escalation is not in the interest of anyone's in the region. Thirdly, I guess if you see a whole new constituency of countries, and analysis would come up after this, if you see that, particularly constituencies, Pakistan's particular role now in internationally as a mature state, one, and of course its diplomatic and its political leadership for that matter. I guess that would open up new opportunities of cooperation, and you know, also it could, you know, lead to certain new alignments in the region as well, particularly given the nature. I mean, there was, you know, in past some understanding, but there have been a lot of criticism about Pakistan's capacity to respond as a society. If you see that during this entire crisis, the collective response and the wisdom and sort of a shared, you know, a response of a community, as a community in the country is remarkable. There wasn't war hysteria in the media, if you see that. There wasn't, you know, people who were talking about celebrating the deaths and all those things. So this entire thing also, you know, reflected that there's a greater potential in the society, that as a society, the society has a lot of resolve, potential, and also this country has a lot of potential to act in unity when the aggressor takes certain steps.
Right. Mr. Khan, when we talk about that pressure by the Indian armed forces officials as well, they were asked a question regarding the downing of the Rafales. They said they tried to dodge that particular question, saying loss is a part of the combat. How are you looking at this? What sort of a tone underlies this particular sentence when they say the loss is a part of the combat?
Thank you very much for having me on this very important live transmission. And when we speak, as you have told, that things have unfolded, and as the things have been unfolded, and specifically when it comes to the pressures of the Indian officials, we come to know that there is a tone which is not satisfactory, which is not, you know, in confidence. They are not able to speak, or they are hesitant in responding to the questions, and they are trying to use such techniques to basically dodge the questions, as you mentioned. But I tell you that it's not about the Indian response or Pakistan's response for that matter when it comes to the independent media or the reporting of the incidents. When we see that it has been confirmed by the international media as well, the CNN has reported upon this, specifically the French intelligence and the French you know, sources have also been talking about Rafale being shot down by Pakistan in very you know, sophisticated manner for that matter. And we should be you know, we should be seeing it as an opportunity as well, because as my other panelists said, that Pakistan was being under pressure for some time vis-a-vis the response that Pakistan would Pakistan be able to give the response to India in a satisfactory manner or not. But we did it in 2019, we did it again now, and it is one of the textbook examples of the demonstration of the will, of the demonstration of the operational capacities and professionalism and the sophistication that the tri-services had shown in this case.
And Mr. Khan, when we talk about, we try to compare it with that very case back in 2019. On the face of it, and proven so far, the damage that has been inflicted to the Indians is way bigger as compared to that what was rendered back in 2019. They did not learn the lesson that time around as well. Do you think with this much of a damage, and there happen to be so many successes of Pakistan as far as diplomatic front is concerned, the political front is concerned, the military front is concerned? Do you think they will
I guess-
learn their lesson this time around?
I guess they have a setback in diplomacy as well as their narrative was concerned, and specifically also about the operational capacities of the Indian forces for that matter. But I don't think so that this Hindutva wave and the Hindutva mindset that has been instilled into the society of the India, and for that matter the leadership that is lifetime member of the RSS, which has been banned by India itself for the twice and internationally as well in different instances for that matter. I don't think so that their extreme behavior could be changed in such a manner. But I recall the statement made by Bill Clinton in 2001 when it called Kashmir as the nuclear flashpoint. So what we have to do is to address the basic core of that issue, and they have to understand that this is the basic core, and the ball is in the India's court as far as the escalation is also concerned. In 2019, what they did, we responded equally at that level, and now they escalated the ladder. They step up a bit, and we basically retaliated in the same manner and the same escalation, and we didn't have any other choice basically, because the deterrence that has to be created in the South Asia, and that has always been there. It was necessary for Pakistan to respond equally with decisive manner and showing its capabilities of professional excellence and the will for that matter. So I don't think so that this episode will definitely it will teach a lesson to the such radical behavior,
But that particular clip, if you remember it exactly, when Narendra Modi says that this country has felt the need of Rafales, quote unquote, right? So when the Rafales are down, they've been down by Pakistan in such a way. Do you think they would be able to come out of this trauma or this shock very time soon?
I tell you, the morale of the Indian Air Forces and the forces for that matter is all times low, and they cannot recover so easily from this trauma. And when it comes to the Rafale, it's not just about Rafale, it's also about the drone technology of Israel, it's also about the S-400 of the Russia. So it's at last it's not the machine, but the individual sitting behind the machine operating it. So our pilots and our professionals, they have shown excellent professionalism, and the thing is that having said this all, I guess the regional dynamics would compel the US and the other powers specifically
revisit that particular part.
to revisit its policy
revisit that policy. Dr. Kausar, when we try to compare the two scenarios at home in India, the Hindutva driven ideology of the Bharatiya Janata Party, and the kind of narrative and rhetoric they've been coming up, and they've been trying to inculcate that very poison, that venom all across and deep down in the fabric of their society, as compared to when there is a threat to such a huge chunk of a population in this particular fragile region, when Kashmir dispute happens to be a nuclear flashpoint. Do you think India would learn the lesson, or at least for some time the international players are going to impress upon India that this is not viable, it's not going to reap you any positive results if you go ahead with any sort of a misadventure in future? Because if this particular point is triggered, it could actually create a catastrophe.
Very right. I mean, if you see now, the people within their own society have been started questioning about what has happened, particularly with the BJP, that how did this aggression has served whatever they had their stated objectives at that time. I guess the very fundamental thing is that it has opened up the space for debate within their own society, that people started questioning about the very edifice of, the very foundation of their argument that has been badly challenged right now, because of the 2-3 reasons. One is that I guess they had never estimated in a true sense, and sort of underestimated the opposition, particularly Pakistan's response. The very sad part of such politics is
Dr.
that...
Kausar, I seek your pardon for the interjection over here. I'll have to go for a quick short break, and after this particular break, we'll be resuming the discussion. For that, stay tuned. Welcome back to this special live transmission. In the studio, we are honored to be joined by Dr. Vakasali Koser and Umair Pervez Khan. Before heading towards the break, we were in conversation with Dr. Kausar. Dr. Kausar, which thing do you think is going to ideally outweigh that very pressure or the kind of international community sensitizing or impressing upon Indian authorities that Kashmir is a nuclear flashpoint and it is not in the favor of anyone, especially India in particular, when we talk about to go for any sort of misadventure or aggression? Or do you think sense is not going to prevail for a longer time and that very Hindutva driven ideology is going to drive the things as far as Indian approach in the region is concerned?
See, just want to complete that what we were discussing, particularly concerning the Hindutva politics. I guess this entire 4 to 5 days crisis, particularly a war-like situation, has created it gave birth to 2-3 fundamental questions over there. Politically, it has dented the BJP's politics. Because the narrative to push to punish Pakistan or take such aggressive measures, it didn't pay well back home, because of the reason that international media now their own people, on military front and air force and all that, there have been a lot of backlash. So I guess this has seriously questioned their own political narrative as well. Second, importantly, is I guess that there is a reality check for India, particularly BJP's politics over the period of 5 to 10 years, that the overall, if you see the response from the international community, that response was very different this time, because they tried to sell the narrative, a narrative which was, which was just, sort of a knee-jerk response after the Pahalgam and, accusing a country and then directly violating the international borders. I guess this has also lowered the threshold of response in future as well. So this has also, I guess many people are raising question over there that, this has also didn't pay well, and then I guess that's another area. Third is that I guess this has also opened up some spaces for the oppositions in India now, opposition parties particularly. I guess with the passage of the time, they will started questioning now that what actually they have gained out of this misadventure, except sort of exposing their own vulnerabilities within the country, and particularly their infrastructure, particularly their politics, and this has also sort of exposed their media. If you see that the media, which was it's a very, very sort of a complex nexus between government, media, and the way they have created that infrastructure. I guess their own society is now challenging it a lot, that how this media, which is sort of issuing news from the war rooms, no actual ground reporting evidence and all that. I guess this has also this will initiate, I guess, and people try to reclaim those spaces which have been captured by these BJPs and the sort of a media that is over there. Over Kashmir, I must say, see,
I'll come to this particular point of Kashmir later on in the show. If you allow me to head towards the new participant who's joined through a video link, Mr. Raza Bashir Tar. He's former ambassador. Mr. Tar, thank you very much for your time, for being with us on this special live transmission. Really appreciate that. Defense Minister Khaja Asif, while talking to a private news channel, is put forth the primary points which are going to be the main points when it comes to negotiations, any potential negotiation with India, and those are Kashmir, terrorism and water. Let's start with this particular point of terrorism. We also know for a fact over the number of years the way Pakistan has been waging the war against this particular scourge. It's been the victim of this scourge itself for a number of years, had to pay a huge price in terms of men and material, both when it comes to dealing with this particular menace. But on the contrary, there's been a bogey of terrorism, the false narrative, the fictitious narrative Indians had been trying to spread about Pakistan internationally, but rather there is a long list of evidence against India's involvement in state sponsorship of terrorism, not only in Pakistan, in Canada, in the US, in the UK, in Qatar. When any potential negotiation happens between Pakistan and India, this particular issue, how do you think it should be taken up by the Pakistani authorities with all that long list of India's involvement in terrorism across the world?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for affording me the opportunity. Well, As you very rightly pointed out, Pakistan is the victim. Pakistan is the biggest victim of terrorism. We have suffered decades of it. Our brethren in Kashmir are victims of state terrorism, which India has been trying to sort of obfuscate and hide from the world, but now I think everybody can see it. So I think the primary issue is Kashmir. If Kashmir is resolved equitably in accordance with the UNSC resolutions and the will of the Kashmiri people, this whole drama, this recurring, episodic sort of frenzy that India whips up by staging something, some false flag kind of a thing, the need will go away. So they have to realize that when you have, a very large number of soldiers terrorizing a population, when you have turned Kashmir into the biggest open prison in the world, when you're raping women, when you're using rape as an instrument of war, when you're trying to snuff out the flower of youth, when you're mutilating and maiming the young people, and quite frankly, people like us who try to, be reasonable and talk when the talks don't go anywhere for like, it has been umpteen years that the matter is hanging fire. That basically adds to the consternation of the people who are suffering and especially the youth. And then they realize that perhaps something more drastic has to happen. So first, I think India should look inwards. And if anybody needs any proof about the bona fides of the Modi and the Modi administration, very ably or infamously aided by RSS, look at what they are doing to Muslims inside India. Look at what the way they are treating the Sikhs, the Christians, so many minorities who are basically sick and tired of this this fantasy of Ram Raj. I don't know when it will go away. So I think we should be very firm on driving home this point to the world that if Kashmir is not resolved, such things will keep rearing their head. I am not, by the wildest stretch of imagination, trying to suggest that Kashmiris are involved in terrorism because they are conducting a legitimate freedom struggle. But basically, this is what
Mr.
India.
Tarar, Mr. Tarar, that was actually the sinister intention, the very design on the part of the Indian authorities, which are at the helm at the moment, the Bharatiya Janata Party, to equate a legitimate indigenous freedom struggle that is allowed by the UN Charter itself, the very spirit the UN Charter is based on, with all those UNSC resolutions which are relevant to this particular dispute, to equate that legitimate indigenous freedom struggle for the right to self-determination to terrorism. And do you think, with the kind of response after this particular false flag operation in Pahalgam, this particular rhetoric or the narrative the Indian authorities had been trying to spread, equating the indigenous freedom struggle to terrorism, has backfired badly? And as already Dr. Kausar was of the view that the international community's response towards India this time around speaks volumes that this has been a reality check for them.
Absolutely. I think the Western powers, most notably the US, have to realize that their net security provider and their so-called purported counterweight to China is actually a brat. It's like, as my friend Father Hussain wrote, it's a child trapped in a man's body. So they must realize that if they don't check these tendencies of Indians, it's like Modi is, a child with a matchbox, roaming around in a firecrackers factory. He's going to set fire to the factory, and the whole world, or most of the world, will go up in flames. So I think they have to restrain them. They have to tell them that enough of this tragicomic performance. I just had the misfortune of listening to Prime Minister Modi, the speech he made. And well, I mean, his expression was betraying his insecurity, but basically what, you know, braggadocio, bluster, denial, trying to, portray things as if nothing has happened. But yes, everybody knows. Everybody knows what has happened as our Air Force, I think Mr. Aurangzeb pointed out 6-0. The whole world knows. And so basically, I think people should reason with them that it's time to sit down. Enough of this, bragging and, this trillions of dollars of economy and this and that. And we have the cash to buy everything under the sun. No, it is not the way to go about things, and they have to respect the
Ambassador
unit
Tarar,
article.
this is the point exactly that the entire world needs to see whether sanity could be or a reason could be injected into them. As you already mentioned, the need to look inwards. But the record shows that they don't have that tendency, neither the tendency nor the capacity to look inwards, because the kind of ideology they are driven with is extreme and it is inflammatory. So there has to be some sort of external force that could play a part in this particular regard in order to at least impress upon or pressurize with different sort of options to India to restrain itself when it comes to, or realizing that this particular dispute needs to be resolved. Dr. Kausar, in that particular regard, the track record shows that they are not going to look inwards. They're not going to have the realization themselves. Now, when President Donald Trump talks about that I will work with both India and Pakistan to see if after 1,000 years a solution can be arrived at concerning Kashmir. Do you think this third-party mediation, when it comes to specifically the US, is doable? Pakistan has welcomed this gesture on the part of the US president, but of course there is resistance. It's a long time India had been resisting any third-party mediation. Is there any chance that they could agree to any
See, I guess
third-party
this
mediation?
is not a question of they're agreeing or not. First, I guess they need to look their own the narrative that they've tried to build around Kashmir is that that's their internal issue. Particularly post 5th of August, what BJP was saying that they have resolved, so-called resolved the Kashmir issue by abrogating the 370. But disenfranchisement, disempowerment, and
Well, there are
doing
so
away-
many factors, but also that very important point, stationing so much of the armed forces personnel over there,
Yeah.
making it the largest open air
True.
prison
I
in
mean-
the world, that is itself a proof that the situation is
Well,
not
that's
normal.
what I'm saying, that they had two, major points that they made to their own public, that look, the economy is, tourism is doing well and there is no such any political thing. But I guess what has happened in Pahalgam particularly, and then post Pahalgam, the way their military and their, state infrastructure responded against Kashmiris, this has shown that until unless you don't address these deeper conflicts, you don't engage with them. The political question, Kashmir is fundamentally a political question. So militarily you can't solve a political question. You have to have certain political response to these questions. One. Second, I guess it's Kashmir. I mean, Pakistan and India has been engaging on Kashmir since long, and I guess denying fundamentally from that as if 5th of August has created something new. I guess this has further complicated the Kashmir issue. There is, I mean, it's the issue of aspiration of the people. It's the issue of the will of the people. It's the story of betrayal when it comes to Kashmir. I mean, it's the story of the people, those who have been it's hundreds and thousands have been led their lives. There's a story of half widows. It's the stories of gender. It's the stories of children.
So,
I mean, unmet, unfulfilled promises.
The entire world knows about it. How the
No,
third-party
see,
mediation is going to work out?
First, we need to see that.
But,
I guess there
given
has
the
to be a
track record
realization.
of India.
I know, but there is a realization. I mean, you tried to solve it militarily, it didn't happen. You attempted in Balakot, you got a response. You did big, tried to do big on 6th and 7th, you got a bigger response. Within them, I guess there's a greater voices that they're militarily there is no solution to it. Attacking Pakistan or sovereign country doesn't. So I guess the fundamental is how you have to engage with the people. That's a fundamental issue. I guess the US, it's a very welcoming and encouraging. There's a reason behind that. Because when we say that Kashmir is a nuclear flashpoint, I mean, with a period of time, you come to know that that's until unless you don't resolve such a core issue with the aspiration of people, you don't, you know, empower people, you don't understand their aspirations, the chances of escalation right now what we have seen is bigger. I guess history has given them a chance to resolve this issue amicably under the principle of justice and democracy, and the self-determination. And if you know, if you don't follow that path, the next time history might not give you a chance.
History has given them the opportunity to resolve this particular crisis. But Congress has also come up with some objections, and they are asking questions as to if there is any shift in the foreign policy under Bharatiya Janata Party, if they agree to a third-party mediation.
See, there's one thing. I mean, of course, for their own internal domestic consumption and politics, they have been using Kashmir a lot, and that has happened during Congress era as well. But the fundamental question is they have been engaging on Kashmir, particularly if you see their track record of Manmohan Singh and Pervez Musharraf, if you see that Vajpayee and Nawaz Sharif and Pervez Musharraf also. I mean, the problem right now with the BJP is that they didn't, you know, couldn't understand the nature of the conflict particularly. They thought that they're, you know, such a right-wing exclusive politics that has dominated the voices within India, the liberal voices particularly, and the crackdown on media, and they thought in a way that they would apply the same formula in Kashmir. Kashmir is a different case. I mean, it's a disputed territory. It has its own legal international standing. So until unless you don't engage with Kashmiris, you don't open up their spaces, you have to lift this, you know, these restrictions over there. United Nations Human Rights Council reports, independent reports, all are, you know, witness to this. The problem is, I guess there's a lesson. The lesson is that if you are not engaging with this, you would have to, you know, pay the price for it.
Price for it. Dr.
Even
Kausar,
the entire region for that matter.
yeah, Dr. Kausar, I'll have to go for a quick short break. After this particular break, we'll be resuming the discussion. For that, stay tuned. Welcome back to the special live transmission. We are joined in the studio by Dr. Vakasali Koser, Umair, Pervez Khan, and on the video link, Mr. Raza Bashir Tar. Mr. Khan, do you think this particular proposal by, he had already offered third-party mediation, offered to mediate himself back in time as well, President Donald Trump in his first tenure. This time around, after this entire saga unfolded, he has once again brought the Kashmir dispute to the fore again. How third-party mediation is doable? How can it be done in this particular case of Kashmir?
Actually, if we see the history of the Kashmir conflict, we see that there have been changes in the narratives of the India as far as the Kashmir is concerned, specifically after 1972 Shimla Agreement. They have been talking about that it's the bilateral, you know, issue between both of the states, and they should be talking on the issue bilaterally rather than accepting any third-party mediation.
Right.
But I tell you that this is so important and significant that the President Office of the United States itself said that he offers the you know, the office for the consultations and resolution of the Kashmir dispute. So what has to be done is basically to build upon this and to have that diplomatic you know, profess and diplomatic, I would rather say, expertise and the efforts for the resolution of the Kashmir dispute that has been due since 1947, according to the United Nations
here
resolution.
Is the scenario, Mr.
The the mechanism I'm coming to is very clear and simple. That is the United Nations. No other mechanism could be durable and could last long for that matter. And the only thing that has to be taken into the consideration, in my opinion, is yes, India, Pakistan, they are party to it, but the people of the Kashmir, they are the actual stakeholders of this conflict. And when you talk about the will of the people of the Kashmir, it is being already established that what would be the mechanism when it comes to the establishing the will of the people, and that is the United Nations resolutions, and they give and they tell you that it's the plebiscite that has to be done under the UN auspices, and
a point very well made. And even if we take into account the similar agreement that this particular dispute should be resolved bilaterally, it doesn't allow, as per if we go with their perspective, they went on to violate similar agreement themselves by revoking Article
They-
370. Am I
It's not
correct
just
on that
about
or not?
revoking the article, but I tell you one thing, if we consider their narrative as well, the clause 2 of the Shimla agreement itself says that the bilateral issues between India and Pakistan would be resolved bilaterally or any other method mutually agreed upon. And what
Agreed.
is that any other method mutually agreed
Right.
upon is the United Nations
Right.
that the both countries have agreed since 1948, I guess.
Right. I'll
and-
have to go quickly to Mr. Tarar. Mr. Tarar, your closing comments as to could there be any possibility of third-party mediation when it comes to the U.S. already playing a very important role in making the two countries go for this particular ceasefire? And when President Donald Trump talks about resolving the Kashmir dispute, how can this third-party mediation work in this case?
Well, sir, definitely it can, theoretically, it can work. America has the gravitas and, the depth of relations with both the protagonists to be able to play a very constructive role. But obviously, negotiation of any kind presupposes a certain enlightened self-interest and an approach which is, characterized by reasonableness and not like hubris and, delusions of grandeur. Now, my personal feeling is that as far as this third party mediation is concerned, it has been quite a sore point for the Indians. And precisely because they feel that once the cat is out of the bag and when the whole world is seeing how unreasonable this stance is, they do stand to lose. But well, we live in a world where everybody knows, the nitty gritty and basically what is going on and the atrocities and all that. It's very difficult to keep things under wraps. So obviously, enlightened self-interest would demand that India should be reasonable.
I get your point, Mr. Raza Bashir Tar, former ambassador, joining us on the video link. Thank you very much. Dr. Vakasali Koser, foreign affairs expert, joining us in the studio. Thank you very much for your time. Mr. Umair Pervez Khan, General Secretary, Consortium for Asia Pacific Studies, lecturer at the Department of Higher National Defense University. Mr. Khan, thank you very much for your time also. With that, we come to the end of this particular segment of this special live transmission. For further transmission, stay tuned to PTV World.